A little under 2 years ago, I met Emma. Little did I know at the time, she would turn into the love of my life. I'm very lucky to call her my fiance and one day my future wife. Before we get there, let's go back to the beginning. Me and Emma did pre-engagement counseling in the summer, and of course, we talked about what type of ring she wanted. So I knew she wanted a princess cut, 0.5 to 1 carat diamond, side stones, and a gold band. I looked around for months and finally I found the perfect jeweler on Etsy. And I reached out to them on November 4th and we talked a little bit about what I wanted, and they said they were able to do it. And yes, on November 7th, I went ahead and I ordered the engagement ring. Now, the plan was to always propose to Emma when I went back home to the Bahamas on this private beach on the west end of the island. I made sure to order the ring early enough because I leave to go back home on December 14th, and that's where I plan to propose to Emma. So I'm like, okay, November 7th, that's plenty of time. Then of course, after ordering the ring, I had to tell my friends the good news. So I hit up my boys from back home, we hopped on a call and we talked about it, we celebrated. I told my mom and my dad, they were excited. I told some other close friends and everyone was so excited. This was gonna be amazing. Finally, 1 week later, the ring is set to be delivered. It's November 14th and I'm home waiting. And I finally get the email notification and I race downstairs and I look around, but I don't see any package. So I'm like, okay, maybe they dropped it off at the front door. So then I go outside and I don't see any package. So I'm like, okay, this is strange. So then I run back upstairs and I see they sent me a proof of delivery photo. And when I check the photo, I'm like, wait a second, this isn't my building. My building doesn't have any black tile. Look here, I'm gonna show you guys 2 photos. This is the proof of delivery they sent me. And this is what my lobby looks like in my building. As you guys can see, there's no black tile. I'm like, oh my goodness, of course they drop off the most valuable package ever at the wrong address. So I called UPS and I explained to the customer service representative what happened. And they were like, okay, we'll contact the driver, see if he's still in the area and get them to go retrieve the package and drop it off at your address. Because this is literally like 20 minutes after they dropped off the package. So I'm like, okay, that sounds great. And they asked me, can they call me back at this number? And I said, yes. And literally 3 minutes later, I get a call. But before I can answer the phone, it hangs up. And I'm like, okay, maybe it was a spam. Let me give it like another 40 minutes. And the 40 minutes goes by, I don't get another call. So I called UPS again and they explained to me, hey, the driver tried to contact you, but he couldn't get through. But he explained to us that he dropped the package off at the right address. Please reach out to your sender and ask him to open up an investigation. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I reach out to the seller and I explained to them the situation. I asked them to open up an investigation. After the seller opened up the investigation, they explained to me that it'll take about 10 business days for the investigation to conclude. And at the conclusion of the investigation, I could either get a new ring or a refund. And I'm like, okay, I still have enough time before I go back home for us to get this all figured out. About a week and a half goes by and I don't hear anything. So I reach out to the seller and they tell me that I need to provide them with a new number to give to UPS. Because when UPS originally called me that first time and it didn't go through, for whatever reason, UPS can't use the CM number twice if it doesn't work the first time. So now I'm in a pickle because I can't give them Emma's number because obviously it's going to be a dead giveaway. And I can't just give them anybody else's number because UPS could call me at any time. So I go down to T-Mobile and I get a new phone number. And guess what? A few days goes by and I don't even get a call. Now I check back in with UPS again and they tell me that too much time has passed to do the investigation and they've issued refund papers to the seller. So please reach out to the seller. And then I'm like, okay, this is great news. So I reach out to the seller and then they tell me that UPS found the package. I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense. Now I'm confused, but I don't care. They tell me that the package is gonna be delivered and they tell me this on Thursday, which was Thanksgiving Day. And I searched online that UPS was closed on Thanksgiving, so I expected the package to be delivered the following day. And the following day comes and I don't get a package. Now 2 days have passed and still no delivery. So I get back on the phone with UPS and they tell me that there was an attempt to deliver the package on Tuesday. But I'm like, wait a second. The seller told me on Thursday that they found the package and it was going to be delivered after that. So this doesn't make any sense. So I asked them, I'm like, okay, whatever. Where is the package now? And they said it's at a UPS access point. And I looked at the address and it was right down the road. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. So I walk down the road and I go there. And of course, there's no package. So then I walk back home. I'm upset. I get back on the phone with UPS and this person confirms the information. He's like, hey, yeah, it looks like the package was attempted to be delivered on Tuesday, but I don't think we ever found this package. So at this point, I am upset. It is getting very close to when I need to go back home and I need a ring. So I reached out to the seller again and I expressed my frustration and they told me that they're gonna open up a new investigation, but they can't send me a new package until the investigation is concluded. And at this point, I'm just 2 weeks from going back home and an investigation is gonna take 10 business days. So now I need a plan B. While this was going on in the background, I was executing plan B. So I went around New York and I searched for a ring that was similar to the one I ordered originally, and I found one right in time before I went back home. When I got back home, it was go time. We went on a tech scout at the location of the proposal. Alright, we out there with the boys at the beach. We're testing it out. We did test photos, test videos, and we wanted to determine exactly what the lighting would look like as the sun went down. And in doing that, we determined that we need to be there at the start of golden hour, which is an hour before sunset, which meant that I needed to leave home an hour and a half before golden hour because it's an hour drive out there plus an additional 20-minute walk. Plus we determined that we'd probably need about 10 minutes to rest just after walking. But wait. Finally, the jeweler got back to me. On December 19th, they told me that they're not gonna wait on UPS any longer. They're gonna prepare me a new ring. And I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of good timing. I'll propose with this ring, and then when we get back home, I'll give her the ring that I originally intended to propose with. Plan is good. And the proposal day comes around, but wait, everything starts to go wrong. We wake up, it's dark and it's gray outside. It looks like it's gonna rain all day. And of course, for a sunset proposal, that is terrible. I have people calling me, hey, are we still gonna do it today? And I'm like, listen guys, we go as planned. And of course, we went as planned. When it was time to leave, there was someone holding up the elevator. So that knocked off 10 minutes off our time. Then we finally got in the car and we realized that we left our Wi-Fi hotspot upstairs. So I had to run back upstairs, get the hotspot, and then race back downstairs. But wait, why don't we have any Wi-Fi? We didn't realize, but the hotspot ran out of data. So now we don't have any internet. So now we can't communicate with the photographer who we were supposed to pick up or the people coming to set up the decorations, and now we're just rolling blind. And then when we get on the road heading there, we hit traffic and it starts to rain. And I'm not gonna lie, at this point, doubt started to creep in. We started saying like, okay, maybe we could just redo the photos another day if they don't turn out good. But I'm like, listen, we still go as planned. I picked up the photographer and we arrived to the beach on time. And as soon as we got to the beach, the rain cleared up and the sun started to peek through just a little bit. We did photos for about 15 to 20 minutes. And I had two of my boys in the background recording videos and taking photos of us just so that we could have multiple angles of this proposal. And then finally, it was go time. And literally, from that moment going forward, it was like the gates of heaven just opened up. The sun started to peek through the clouds, and it was the most beautiful sunset I have ever seen. It felt like God Himself was just shining down on us, and I've never just felt so relieved. This was truly a special moment. We sat out there with my friends and we just basked in the beauty of that sunset and enjoyed that moment. But little did she know, I had another surprise waiting for her when we got back home. And when we got back home, she was shocked. She was like, oh my goodness, how'd you do this? And it was just beautiful. We got back home and we were just able to enjoy some champagne, and I was just able to tell her everything leading up to that moment, and it was such a big relief. For about another week, we celebrated and had fun with our family and friends back in the Bahamas. It was so amazing. And on January 2nd, we finally got notification that the ring was delivered. Yes, everything was finally going as planned. When we got back home, we asked the mom if she got the ring, but her mom said she never received anything. So we're like, oh, wait a second. But it said the ring was delivered. And we checked online, the tracking number, and they delivered it to my address. But I specifically asked them to deliver it to Emma's home address because I knew I would be in the Bahamas and that I wouldn't be home to receive the package. But they still made the mistake and dropped it off at my address. So now we had to ask Emma's parents to drive out to Jersey City and pick up the package. And luckily it was there. I'm like, okay, yes, this is great. Once we get back home, we could finally be done with this nightmare. On January 7th, we returned to New Jersey and we were so excited to finally open up this package, and Emma opened it.
Oh, that's fancy. Like lights up. Ready?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, I like this one a lot better. And the other one's really nice too.
And she was so excited. She's like, oh my goodness, I love it so much. And I'm like, this is great. But then I take a closer look at the ring and I realize, wait a second, I ordered a princess cut and they sent me a round cut stone. They sent me the wrong ring. After 2 months of waiting, they still sent me the wrong ring. So now I reach out to the seller and I tell him, hey, you guys sent me the wrong ring. I wanted a princess cut and you guys sent me a round cut. And then they told me, hey, this is what you ordered. And I'm like, no, I sent them screenshots of our conversations from way back in November. And after I sent them the screenshots, they disappeared for a few hours. And I thought that I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to get my money back. I probably got to call a lawyer or something or reach out to Etsy to get this solved. And finally, they answered me back. They said, I'm so sorry. And they sent me a return label. I dropped the ring off to be returned. And yes, finally, 2 weeks later, we got the correct ring. After almost 3 months of waiting on this package, they finally got it right. And listen, guys, this engagement has been an absolute journey. And I knew early on it felt like everything was working against us. It felt like the world itself was working against us. But I knew it was the devil just trying to put doubt in my mind, because he knows when we get united together in marriage, we're gonna do great things in this world.